Alright everyone, we start off today with propaganda, specifically about the Chinese spy balloon that was finally belatedly shot down over the Atlantic Ocean, visible from Myrtle Beach. Actually, one clanker sent me in some footage that they had taken of the actual debris falling out of the sky. Interesting. There are several points I'd like to make here. Link in the description, archived of course, just sort of a read-up about this. There is some shenanigans going on right now. There is some propaganda. One is coming from craftivists, or endlessly replicating the unsourced claim by, I think, Krasenstein originally. Brian Krasenstein, I believe, was the specific brother putting this out, that the DoD had been blocking the balloon from getting any sort of transmissions going while it was over the continental U.S., so it wasn't really gathering data. Biden knew what he was doing. The Department of Defense managed to put the kibosh to that. Beyond the claim being apparently unsourced, so it could be literally total horseshit without an even claim being made in the first place, let's examine why that's probably bullshit, assuming that the claim has veracity to begin with. If you are jamming the supposed weather balloon, as the Chinese term it, although we know that's not the case, how the hell is it managing to ascend and descend in order to take advantage of wind patterns to hover over areas for an extended period and then go on its merry way to try to escape? It couldn't, because you're jamming it. So that claim doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. Secondly, the shoot down was belated. I don't believe for a moment Biden's spiel there that he gave the military the go-ahead the second it entered U.S. airspace, but they said, Mr. President, we can't shoot it down yet. I call malarkey on that one, Joe. It was over an exceptionally rural area. It should have been shot down the second it entered U.S. airspace. Considering the fact that you at first didn't apparently know what this object was, you should have immediately fired upon it. Third, there's another debunked claim. They claimed in the legacy media for the last 48 hours, well, the reason it's not being shot down is that's really difficult to do. It's flying so high in the air. They trotted out a story about the Canadians in '98 trying to fire on a balloon that had slipped its tether and was floating around, and they had to get rid of it. And they fired 20,000 rounds at it, and then it still took 5 days for it to finally come down. Well, we seem to have done a pretty good job of it because one F-22 fired exactly one missile at it, and we even managed to get the bottom part of it, the part that's actually transmitting all of your data back to Beijing, in only a little bit of water where it's easily recoverable and apparently more or less intact. Well, that seems quite simple. One single goddamn sortie and one single missile fired, and you managed to pull it off perfectly. Just another example of the legacy media trying to amp up the difficulty of something that's actually going to happen. Why did they wait till it was out over water? I'll tell you the real reason why. They didn't want this landing in a populated area because people would then take photographs of it. People would maybe approach it. Maybe they would put the pictures on 4chan or something like that. The fact is, at the end, it was always easy peasy for them to shoot it down, as we literally just saw, so that countermands dozens and dozens of legacy media hot takes and claims by members of the Biden admin itself. Well, these high-altitude balloons, they're something else. This technology is beyond the capability of an F-22. Well, that certainly seems to have been the case. It was such a difficult mission. It required, I think, 2 jets and 1 single shot. And now it's going to be recovered. But the public will never see it up close. You'll get some grainy stills from the DoD when they trot it out. They'll be posed around the Chinese spy satellite with shit-eating grins or something like that. It will be used as a propaganda field day as it currently is. Oh, well, the Republicans are really in a rout now. They demanded Biden shoot it down, and he did. Should have been shot down before, and again, it's discredited the concept that they were jamming its transmissions. Because then it wouldn't be able to maneuver. And it was stated openly by the Biden admin, again, itself, its own military brass and intel, came out 2 days ago and told us that was the case. Hey, it's being remote controlled somehow. It's able to ascend and descend into and out of air currents in order to steer. Sort of like a wind-pushed ship at sea. An old man-o'-war from the 1700s. you're riding the wind. And so sometimes the currents agree with you and sometimes you have a problem. It's not as good as modern propulsion, but generally speaking, they made it work. That's basically how this craft operated. It's essentially like moving its sails around up in the upper atmosphere. But they brought it down with one missile. So where's the difficulty involved? Either that or you're going full Top Gun. You're saying, oh, this is the Air Force pilot that made that incredible shot. Like they're trying to mint some national hero or something like that. Again, the question must be asked why no proactive measures were taken initially. If you do not know what the object is, at the time it was literally a UFO, by the way, by that classification, you shoot at it as soon as it enters your airspace. And it already had, way over on the West Coast. No action was taken for days. And I reject the story that it was being jammed. And so don't worry, everyone. It wasn't delivering any useful information to the Chicoms. Why would Beijing Biden, even want to jam them from getting that information? Because the other cope was, well, the spy satellites that they already have up there gather the same intel. Okay, if you're not worried that this is a prototype with some added function, you're not worried that it's of a military nature, it's just a spy balloon that the Chinese wasted cockamamie amounts of money on deploying when they already have their uber scary satellites up there, nothing here makes sense. Literally nothing about the story, at least at this moment, makes any plausible sense at all. The Biden administration's own words countermand some of the claims that are being made. The legacy media's claims are countermanded by basic goddamn common sense. None of these claims hold any water at all. So the Biden regime really needs to be looked into over this. I still think he should be impeached for this. He's the commander-in-chief. He's making a claim that he gave the call to bring down the balloon. And by the way, can I ask something of the legacy media? It's rhetorical because you know the answer. If the reason why you don't want to bring it down over rural Montana is because the debris might hit O'Leary's farm and cause problems, are you going to scrutinize Joe Biden for having given the military the nod to shoot it down at that time? Because that's literally what he is claiming. Oh, wouldn't the falling debris be a problem? Did the President of the United States not know of this when his military brass did and they all sat nervously at the table sweating and wondering what to tell him? They're not going to look into that. That's a claim being made by Joe Biden, steward himself. They're going to be very hush-hush about that particular aspect now going forward, aren't they? So again, link in the description. Although there's a dozen updates about it just today. There is still that second balloon that's currently over Latin America. Not exactly sure. Maybe that one just went off course badly or something and was intended for the southern United States. Maybe they're going to put it over Texas, but then they thought better of it because they realized that civilians there own things that are better than just rifles. And I thought that was funny too. They were putting out pressers at state and federal level. Please don't shoot at the balloon. Your rifle rounds will not reach it. Trust me, even the Elmer Fudd gun owner with his hunting rifle out there, once he gets loaded on a bunch of fucking Budweiser, knows that his bullet is not going to penetrate that far into the atmosphere. The idea of gun owners as being uniquely stupid, like this dude in suspenders is like, yeah, I'll take care of it, and he starts rigging up a homemade hot air balloon to go up with his hunting rifle to dispatch the evil commies or something. That's not really that realistic. I seem to recall when the meme about shooting at the hurricane to drive it away went viral many, many years ago, and they put out a presser saying, please don't shoot at the hurricane and shit like that. Yeah, that's the average gun owner in a nutshell. Now, there's no stereotyping there whatsoever. Speaking of guns, that'll be the second story of the day. That's about all. Peace out.